welcome back to draft night. This is draft number 4, I believe, and we're just getting started here. Okay, here we go. So right off the bat, a pretty decent pack. There's no, just jump out bombs unless you count Cyberjar. I don't really like playing with Cyberjar. If I don't take it, we're trying to maybe get something going with Abyss Soldier, or we're maybe picking up Deco, Wingwind, MST. I think I'm actually just going to take the MST. I don't really want to first pick an MST, but maybe I can take the Wingwind. Nah, we're just going to take the MST. I hate first picking a Mystical Space Typhoon, but here we are. Pretty good pack here. Fringe playables, Smashing, Compulse. Spy and Breaker are the obvious standouts. Minecon for the side. I like to try to take the Spies early and just get into them, but Breaker is just so much value. I really can't see myself not taking this here. It's just so good. Okay, this pack is pretty abysmal. We could take the one of DDV. We could grab a Scapegoat. These are pretty sought after. Multiple decks use this. Reasoning Gate will use it, so they're fighting with the control decks for it, and you can play it in anything really. Tsukiyomi, also a consideration. It's between these three. I don't know that we're going to end up anywhere where DDV helps. I don't know that we're going to end up anywhere where Scapegoat helps. I'm just going to take the Tsuki. I think that's the safest choice. Okay, so we got a Torrential. Here's Demok. We got a Reasoning in the pack. Widespread. I think the Reasoning ship has already sailed for us, even though we're only 3 picks in. So that takes care of those. I'm not really a big fan of Torrential, but it's pretty good in this type of setting. I mean, it's decent anyway, but it can be kind of an awkward card. But I think it's still very, very strong in the cube. So we're going to pick that up and go from there. A lot of just decent stuff. Break, Saku, always nice. Then you got Swords, always pretty good. Brain Cons are always at least pretty good. We got some beaters. I think I'm actually just going to take the Solemn. I think there's only 2 of them in the cube now, so it's nice to try to pick up things that are very limited quantity. If anybody's going into Reasoning, they should have a pretty good deck, because most of the stuff has been spaced out. That Reasoning and the Demok being in the pack together is a little awkward for them. But anyway, as far as what we're going to do here, there's a few things. These are pretty good side deck cards, the Sambaira and this Jujutsu, but we can get those later. I think I'm actually just going to pick up this Wingwind. We don't have Sinister or anything yet, but I think we can get there. Another pretty mediocre pack. We don't have any synergy with this Rat. We don't know if we're going to get Return or Defusion to necessarily need this Bazoo. This guy's just a generic 1800 beater. He is a light. I think it's actually between the X-Head or the Exiled. And I think I'm just going to take the Exiled. It's just better. We can get some other light. We got a Cypher for the sideboard. Tribute to the Doomed or Wingwind. I'm just going to take another Wingwind and just really hope we can get at least one Sinister. And it's not like that Wingwind was really up against anything either. The only other card there I think we're that likely to take, and knowing what we know right now, is maybe that Tribute to the Doomed. I think we're fine to not have that. So in this pack, we could pick up one of these beaters, or we could just take Jar of Greed, or we could take 7 Tools. We have the Solemn. 7 Tools can almost be like other copies of Solemn in a way, and I think we can get other effects like this later on. So I'm a little off the rails here compared to what I would normally do, but we're going to try to get a little spicy with this one, I think. Okay, so in that vein, we have all these good traps here. We just need a Sinister for this. We've already got the Tsukiyomi. I think I'm actually going to take this Mask of Darkness. If we didn't take the Mask, we've got Air Knight. We've maybe got Spear Dragon for the side to counter the Scapegoat decks. Crane if we get some Revival. But we've already got a lot of really great things to recycle with this Mask. So looks like we're probably going to be in some kind of control deck. And I'm fine with that. There's not really much here for us. I don't think we're afraid enough of Nobleman to care about the Spell Shield. So I'm just going to take this Strike Ninja. I don't know if it actually will make the deck, but it's kind of nice to be able to pick things like that up when they're not really up against anything else. Okay, so this reasoning came all the way back, and these rats are here, and there's also this offering, and we do have a rat target already. I don't know how many more of them we're going to get. Nothing about what we have is really pushing us to want to be in that direction. We're going to be playing this probably like a smash and ground nobleman hybrid, which is fine. So I think actually I'm just going to hate out this reasoning. It's kind of a mean thing to do, but whoever would want that is the person that took the DMOC last time. And if I can keep that from getting back to them, I'm fine with that. So we've got 2 beaters. They're not light or dark, so I'm not that incentivized to take them. I can hate this True Nade out for similar reasons to what I did with the reasoning. Not really looking to get blown out by the unfair deck when I'm trying to play the fair grindy deck. Not really a good deck for drag down, so we'll just take this rush. We're probably not playing it. Decayed Commander. Okay, so at the end of pack 1, I would say the deck right now looks pretty bad. We don't really have that many things that are worthy of being first picks. And here's another very weak pack for us to first pick out of, so it's been a pretty rough draft so far. There's another True Nade here, but we're not going to hate that out because there's other things here we would actually play. The Saku, the Skill Dark, X-Head, potentially this Metamorphosis. I can guarantee Metamorphosis isn't coming back around. I think just due to availability and the competitiveness of what the card is, I'm going to go ahead and snatch that up. It's going to be harder to get anything like that later on. Okay, so we could pick up an Asura here to finally get a light. We still don't have any chaos, so we're not really in a hurry for it. There's another spy. We didn't take the other one, unfortunately. Here's card D, still no payouts. We're really looking for that Sinister. So in this pack, for us, it's between Widespread and Asura. Since we don't have any lights yet, I'm going to go ahead and grab this Asura. It is a good counter to Scapegoat, and I don't mind having one Asura Priest in. Okay, so here's another Scapegoat. It's a very interesting pack. Okay, there's another Mask of Darkness we could pick up, but I think that's going to make it back around to us. It may be too late to try to move in on Spy. I could take Scapegoat. Yeah, the more I think about it, I kind of want to do that, because if I take this Spy and don't get the other Spy, then I'm kind of wasting this pick. I think this Mask can come back to us, so I'm going to grab the Scapegoat. There's no chance that's going to table. We've already seen one, so we probably won't get another shot at one if we don't take it now. Okay, so we've got a Regeki break, still no Sinister, so I'm probably not taking that. Here's a Widespread. We saw another Widespread and a Saku in this round of packs, so we could still get something like that. I think I'm going to take the Moth. It's a good way to get another light, and we only have 3 spells right now, but they're 3 powerful spells. And we could still pick more up, you know. We're really looking for Sinister. We're looking for more Sukis, just any like slow, stally, control-y kind of thing. So we've got Spirit Reaper if we want to go for the stalliest thing. If we want to go for something a little more aggressive, we could take this DD Warrior Lady, or there's Dekoichi. And there's also Compulse, which I actually do want to try to pick a Compulse up for this deck, but I think these other 3 cards are too good to not take one of them just to get a Compulse when I could probably get a Compulse later. We have a bit of a warrior theme going here. I'm going to take the DD and try to be a little more aggressive. Maybe we can pick up a Reinforcement of the Army, and then I've got like the toolbox built in. Okay, we could pick up another Scapegoat here. It's up against a Dust Tornado, which would be nice to have, but I don't think we've seen any other Dust Tornadoes yet. They're still floating around. We still have a ways to go. If I knew we were going to get Return and or Defusion, I might prioritize this Freed a little more highly, but we're just going to take the Scapegoat. I actually can't believe that's there this late into the pack. Okay, there's really not a lot here that I'm interested in, so I think it's actually just between Goblin and Ninja Grandmaster, and since it doesn't look like we're going to be in the Spy game, I think I'm going to take this Ninja Grandmaster and just really, really hope that maybe we can get some Rotas and we can get some Sinisters, at least one Sinister. Yeah, see, we have 4 good roto targets already. We've got the Strike Ninja, the Exile, the DD, and the Ninja Grand. So, okay, we're a little light on defensive cards, and I don't think I'm going to actually play any of this. So our options are, I think our options are between Enemy Controller and this Disappear for the side. Unfortunately, nothing's coming back, or we might have been able to table to Disappear, but what do? We do have double Scapegoat, so this Econ's not that bad. It could be like a makeshift Brain Control if we pick up like a Zaborg or a Mobius here at the end. Okay, there's just really nothing here, huh? I'm actually going to take this Golem Sentry. Well, the question is, am I going to take the Golem Sentry again, or am I going to take Mirror Wall? Or maybe I just want to pick up this V-Lord. I'm actually just going to hate out this Vampire Lord. We're doing really good on playables, and I want to hate because someone already has DDV. When the DDV comes early, it's scarier, because it's more likely that somebody was incentivized to go into zombies so they could use the DDV, but when the DDV comes late, nobody went into zombies, so the DDV ends up not mattering. But anyway, so for this pack, we could do Dawn and still hold out for those Rotas, or we could pick up this Wanghu to make sure someone else doesn't have it for our double goat. But the way this deck shaped out, I don't think that's going to be a problem, because we actually did end up with ways to out the Wanghu. So we can take this Dawn here and it won't be a problem. Okay, we're not going to play any of this. We're just going to hate the Koki. Okay, not a lot here. I'm going to grab this new Doria. There's an outside chance we end up with Mystic Tomato. That's an okay thing to bring in against aggro decks anyway. So not a bad thing to have. We'll pick up this Panda. We're not going to play it, but it is good to have against the Scapegoat decks, which right now is mostly us, but there's a couple more out there. So okay, that doesn't really help, but we have it anyway. Still not a very good first pick pack. So last time we took MST. We won't be doing that this time. If anything, I would just take this other Torrential. But I think I'm going to take the Morphing Jar. It's, the weirder your deck is, the better Morphing Jar is, and it doesn't get much weirder than whatever this is. Okay, so this pack, we got a Zaborg and a Mobius that I would love to have. A Book, Knock, Dust. I think I'm just going to take the Mobius. I just really like having at least one of those. And since we don't have to worry about light and dark, since we're obviously not getting chaos at this point, it's the perfect time to get Mobius. I wish I had known we were going to get a second one though, because I would have instead taken Zaborg or maybe Magic Cylinder. Well, I don't know though, because here's another Tsukiyomi, and it's just too good with some of the other things we have. Yeah, I'm going to take another Tsukiyomi. I don't want anybody else to have it either, because our ground pounders for this deck are all of those pesky low defense warriors. Actually, you know what? We're not that vulnerable to it. Strike survives it. Grandmaster dies to it, and Breaker dies to it, but DD doesn't. Okay, we got a Blade Knight. We still haven't seen a Rhoda. Here we got a Nobleman, and we've got a Dust Tornado. I think I'm going to take the Nobleman. We already saw one go by. I don't want to let all of them slip away. We also don't want all of them in the field to be used against us, because the Mask and the Magician of Faith can do a lot of work for us the way this is set up right now. So we don't want them to get knocked off if we can help it. Not a lot of great stuff here. Man, these packs tonight have just been so weak for us. I don't know if we care about another Ninja Grandmaster since we haven't seen the Rhoda. And the Rhodas just aren't coming. I've decided somebody else went for that. We could take Night Assailant. It's kind of the perfect floater to sack to a Monarch. It can give us... Okay, yeah, we're taking Night Assailant because this works with the Wing Winds as well, to recycle the Jar, the Mask, and the Moth. That's good to have. Well, I'll tell you what, I would love to have this Sakuretsu, but I really need the Sangan. There's just too many good targets for the Sangan. There's no way we can't take that there. So I'm really glad I didn't go for Abyss Soldier because we did not get Sinister. This deck is kind of all over the place. We need at least 3 more playables. Personally, I would like at least 6. And here's a great one. We actually get to pick up a Sakuretsu finally. Very happy to have that. Well, Rhoda never showed up. I really don't want any more monsters. Yeah, we never got the Rhoda because this is the last pack that we haven't already seen. Okay, well, we've got Zing. I swore I would never draft Zing again. Yeah, now that I've seen everything, none of the other stuff, I'm not going to get any of the payouts from it, so I'm going to give this one more shot. There is absolutely nothing here for us, so we have 2 options. We could pick either Berserk Gorilla or Slate Warrior as an extra beater in the side, or we could cack the Wanghu since we have the double Scapegoat, or we could pick up Dust Lakuta. That's 3. I know I said 2, but because that's not really an option. It's one of the beaters or the Wanghu, and I'm just going to take the Wanghu because we are aggressive enough that we could actually bring that in if the situation was right. Okay, Mimic is another good flip and a level 1. There's also a Fusilier that's a level 7. I'm going to take the Mimic. Okay, not a lot here that we care about. We're going to hate the Book of Life. Okay, so the question is, do we want another 7 tools or do we want Tribute to the Doomed? And I think I actually want the 7 tools because I'm sort of envisioning this shaping up to be significantly more aggressive than I thought it was going to be at the onset of building this. I think my plan is going to be try to jump out early, push some damage. If I get back into a corner, I fall back into Scapegoat stall and maybe Metamorphosis for Thousand Eyes. I've got the double Suki. Would have been nice to get a second meta, but it is what it is. Okay, apparently we timed out and I picked the worst possible choice for those. Don't really know why that happened. Okay, so all in all, it was pretty rough. Okay, so here's the list we're going to be taking in. It's pretty mid, fairly controlling, quite a few flips to recycle, not as many as I would have liked to have had. Sangan's got some really good targets as well. A little bit of aggression here. A cute little Dawn Rush Wreck. I decided to just side the Grandmaster. We didn't get the Rhoda payout. We didn't get any tomatoes to go with the new Doria, so there are a few things in the board that can come in. And then in the spells, you know, we've got the morph package here. We're a little light on defense, so I'm hoping that we can just make some big plays, cover it with this, cover with this. Maybe this will actually do some work. If we fall behind, this could catch us up, this could catch us up. So we're going to run that and see how it goes, and we'll be back with the games. Okay, so here we are with the games. This is round 1, and just like every other time, the draft commentary is real time, and the duel commentary is obviously after the fact because this is a replay. We will see how we did with this absolute pile of cards. So we have to go second. And our hand is not the greatest, but it's actually a pretty decent hand for having to go second because we have this Nobleman, we have this Breaker, we have this Exiled, so it's pretty reactive. We didn't really have a good turn 1 play, so we didn't miss out on much, I guess is one way to look at it. We pick up 7 tools. I go ahead and go for this Breaker, force the Book of Moon out, and we just go for this play here. I'm expecting him to maybe summon something to try to beat over this. We torrential. If he has any sort of interaction with that via this backfield, we've got the 7 tools, or we have the 7 tools to cover our follow-up on the next turn. So let's see how things go. But he just has swords, so we're okay with that. So I pick up the Zing. I go ahead and get the Breaker back in attack so he's a little more protected. I go ahead and set them off in the Zing. And the reason I do this is I don't really expect him to push into this board, and I'm not really so sure we want to torrential the previously mentioned line isn't looking good now, so I'm actually expecting a set monster so I can knock and recycle. So let's see if that comes to be. So he gets his capsule. I'm okay with that. He sets. At the end of the turn, I go for the zing, and it actually walks. We pick up this MST, and I just get completely rewarded. Go ahead and push in first damage of the game. But here comes the heavy storm. A little unfortunate. He did have the set mon, and it is the spy, so great hit. So I was a turn off on predicting that. That's okay. I opt to not take the 300 and just get into defense here because situation's kind of rough. So he knows I have MST, so he just hard casts the scapegoat. Good play. Pick up Mobius. Nice draw with that floating Moth had he set something into it. So I go ahead and switch the Moth back because I'm healthy. You know, I don't really have to be too worried about having this floating in attack. And, you know, I've got light dark on the field. These aren't high priority targets for removal. They're the kind of thing you just beat over. So we don't have chaos, but they don't know that. You know, so they have to be very careful about how they approach situations like this. Sometimes they'll use removal they didn't need to use just to keep you off of chaos you don't even have. That's the beauty of the cube. Anyway, so he smashes the breaker. We go ahead and do this thinking it's probably bait. It was actually a real card, so that was kind of interesting. We just go ahead and poke. We get the goat down. I mean, we're doing fine here. We're just going to run that down and go for Thousand Eyes here. We have Mobius to tribute out of it. This also lets us just set up the mask to recoup some of the stuff we lost. Zing could be really good paired with this Mobius. We may just want 7 tools to protect it. So, options. He doesn't really do anything. And I think about it for a little while, and I decide I just want to blow the position open and push some damage. Picking up that Wing Wind kind of pushed me to want to do that, especially considering his last turn, you know, wasn't anything to write home about. And turns out, you know, he didn't have anything, so he scoops it up. Go to the next game. Interesting hand. We do have the dreaded Sang and TT combo that has baited so many poor unsuspecting victims. Let's see if it gets anything this game. So I just summon the Sangan and go for that. He books, gets the extra draw. Gets the level up, which I thought was really cool. So good play. He does not flip summon into the Torrential. I go ahead and cash the Asura in for the Torrential. There's a couple of reasons I do this. Based on what he has that I saw in game 1, I didn't really feel like Asura was going to get that much value. Our deck was just kind of weak, and I didn't really have anything that I thought was going to be that much better to bring in. So I did kind of think that, you know, maybe this gets scapegoat. But anyway, so I opt to, you know, go with the Asura there instead of throwing away like the Golem Sentry or something. And it's primarily because of this Mobius. Like, I want to make sure I have ways to facilitate this Mobius. I just felt like this was going to be the most awkward card, so we're pitching that to the Torrential, and we will see if there's any repercussions from that. And we get the Spy and the Deco, and I decide to search up Morphing Jar because I didn't get any Sinisters. So, moving on. He brings down this cliff. I go ahead and just turn it because I'm going to lose that econ either way, so save the life. Drop off hits the only backfield. Unfortunate because I'm a big advocate of having backfield, even if it's not real. Pick up Zing, not really a good time for it, but it's what we got. We bounce this face down. We just go ahead and use the Suki like this. Put the Golem Sentry down so we can get over the cliff. We don't want to let him float anything, but we don't want to use our Mobius summon here on that and have to give up the Golem Sentry, give up this effect. We don't want to use Exiled. We don't actually want to use the Morphing Jar yet. We want to try to set up something spicy with this first. So we opt to clear this way, set the Zing, see if we can, you know, catch him with it. He just sets one. Bounce. We'll just do the same thing this time, get some damage through. First damage of this game. We'll set up the wing wind. Hopefully we don't get blown out by heavy, but he doesn't have it. He has just as many monsters as us, it looks like, so this golem sentry is just putting in a lot of work. Suki comes down again, pokes, bounce back, doing the spirit dance. That's one set, and I opt to just wing wind the one, and he tells me in Discord that he's got all monsters in his hand, and he just concedes the position there. So we'll get game one, and we will be back with game two. Okay, here we are with the second round of the tournament, and unfortunately, once again, we have to go second. It happens. Another pretty awkward hand, but, you know, that's what happens when you have these decks that are just piles. Starts out Silent 3, and H2O is a teammate of mine. I know he likes the Silent Swordsman line quite a bit, so when I saw this 3, I was pretty confident there was a 5 coming down. I just didn't really have any way to stop it. So it's 6. He's got Nobleman of Extermination, and just a ton of damage here. Luckily we set the Knight Assailant, and we have the Exile to clean that up. We're going to go ahead and set this Rush as a bluff. We need to get some kind of a presence out there. We pick up this Wing Wind. I go ahead and summon this Breaker, take this effect, and I want it to look like I'm pretty weak here. But he goes for this Union, and luckily I have Wing Wind, and Wing Wind is just the perfect counter to the Unions. It's kind of gross. So then this Dawn comes down. Gonna take another card out of his hand. And then we get this Rush Recklessly. And this is a trick that he likes a lot, so he kind of laughed about it and then just scooped it up. So we're going to the next game. We do have that Breaker. We're getting him a lot, so that's always nice when you have to go second. He's a really good card to help kind of mitigate that turn 1 tempo loss. Here he finds a Widespread, runs into DD. H2O opts not to remove. Nobleman Extermination comes down again, gets the MST. This time I'm taking the damage, and it's a pretty good chunk. We're pretty far behind. We do pick up Wing Wind. It's a good draw. I decided to just go ahead and exiled the DD Warrior Lady. And the reason I did this is because instead of just setting Knight Assailant to try to soak some damage, I want to hopefully save this Knight Assailant for Wing Blast to convert it to a Mask or a Moth down the road. And I'm just going to hope that this 1800 defense Golem Sentry is able to put in a lot of work. I can pitch the Knight Assailant to the Wing Wind prior to getting a flip if things get pretty dire. So that's kind of what I was thinking in this position. Fairy Lily comes down, and I am not at all happy to see that. So I take some damage here. And now I have to set the Knight Assailant and go for this combination with the Wing Blast. He goes for this Premature. I let it go. We have this to answer the Lily, and we can Wing Blast this out again. So I was feeling okay here. We go ahead and full set as expected. I opt to go ahead and solemn that. I just don't really want to take any chances. Now we get this, and we're going to start trying to scratch back in. This Golem Sentry gets in for 800, and we're just going to hold the Rush Wreck. We're likely, since this Golem Sentry doesn't really stay in attack, we're likely just going to use this as fodder for this Wing Blast. I decided to just let that happen, and unfortunately he has the punish. I was expecting maybe, you know, Snatch Steal or something, but no such luck. We do pick up the Mask. The only thing about that is, you know, we don't have a ton of great stuff here. This deck would have been so much better if we had been able to get a Sinister. So before he goes into battle phase, I have to Wing Blast here. And we pick up the Solemn. And there's just nothing there. So we scoop it up and we head on to game 3. The first time in this entire draft pod, we get to go first. And we get a big full whopper morphing jar hand here. Let's see how it goes. Unfortunately, he has a knock to counter, so we're forced to do this early Solemn. We're going to Wing Blast that. We're going to set and try to get every ounce of value possible out of this jar. Poke in. Get a good 700. We're decently defended. Unfortunately, that swordsman comes down, and what do? So we pick up a Sura. Not really the greatest draw because we want to maintain a board. DD seems like the best way to do that. We're not going to set the Torrential here. We have the Scapegoat down. Unfortunately, I wasn't really thinking about the fact that I just Wing Blasted a DD Survivor, and that is the absolute perfect counter to DD Warrior Lady. So I kind of get punished there. My own fault. Luckily, we have the Suki to clean up. We're still going to try to let this goat happen. Here's Genzo. We got the perfect counter for his situation. We pick up a Sura, not really where we want to be. It does get us out of the Mirage. He drops the X-Head, clears both. We pick up Dawn, really bad draw. We go ahead and put this Genzo down. We do have this Knot combo. Now we get this really good Torrential. And we are kind of backs to the wall right now. I'm looking for a good way to stabilize and then make a push. I go for this route with the mask. He has this blowback dragon. And he targets the mask. Unfortunately, I don't have any way to prevent it. Very lucky for me, he whiffs. He ceasefires, so we miss out on the mask and take a little bit of damage. Life points are getting kind of low. We go for this cheeky little play with enemy controller. We'll see if his blowback dragon likes me better. And it does. Now Mobius comes down to clean up, and we are going to move into Darkblade. And we go for Darkblade because, obvious reasons. We've seen a premature, but I also want to be careful about chaos with him. Unfortunately, we don't have any good things to push with here alongside that. So I decide I want to try to get the Golem Sentry up alongside it. So we just push main phase 1. He top decks the perfect out to the lock scenario. So now we just bring down Asura and try to poke. This is where it should shine because this tiptoes around things like brain control. We go for it again. There's Book. We'll set up the Zing. There is a Chaos Summon regardless. That's a little unfortunate. We do have this exiled, thankfully. He draws, sets another monster. We pick up this Breaker, pretty decent top deck. I decide the back row just isn't very good, or it's something that the 7 tools should be able to deal with. So we get over the Lily, then we break, see that it is a bluff. He sets. We pick up another monster, we're just going to swing in. Shining Angel, and there is the tank, and I just Suki it. And he picks up Pot of Greed, which is just unbelievable. He gets into the tank and fuses. He swings in, and I actually just have nothing to stop it. And at this point, I pick up another 7 tools, and I'm just blown away that this position has flipped around like this. So I set the Suki because we have 2 of them, and I want to get him to use his card up on this maybe. But we have Scapegoat here. So we pick up a Rush Wreck. I thought about setting Night Assailant to just keep him off of another card, but you know, it is what it is. So he sets into the Zine. So I started feeling kind of good about the situation here, but he never took the bait. So now he goes for the blowback on the Zine. Misses it, so he just passes. I Suki. I go for this attack and rush in the damage step to get the blowback out of the way. And the reason I did that instead of just summoning Dawn is because then I would only have Dawn, and I'm hoping I can top deck a way to kill him with only this 1 slot and 1 shot. He hits the Saku. We pick up MST. I decked out and lost the game. So, little unfortunate. I just kind of ran out of steam. Didn't have enough pressure. That top deck into pot, and then into the XYZ, just absolutely brutal. But it happens. That's the advantage he has by playing more than 40 cards is in these wars of attrition. He can or more than 30 cards rather. He can just kind of outlast sometimes if he needs to go that route. So tough break, but it is what it is, and we'll see how round 3 goes. Okay, so here we are with the final game of the tournament. And what do you know? We're going second. Hand is questionable. We decided to play it slow. We're just going to set, be a little bit defensive. No big deal. This Reaper comes up. I'm just going to Torrential it. I don't really want any part of that. That does mean we eat some damage from this Gorilla, but we get this mass down. Get the Torrential back. The problem with this is he knows it's coming, so he'll never summon into it. And I go for what I think is going to be kind of safe and got baited, so good patience on his part. Yep, and sure enough, he won't attack into it. Or won't summon into it, rather. We pick up Mobius, not really a great draw here. We just set this DD. He's got a knock, and we're just getting tossed around. That's the end of that. So head on over to game 2. A lot of familiar faces from the last game. The hand is just unplayable. I'm just going to YOLO this Morphing Jar. Luckily we get it off, and we see he has a Sinister, so this is one of the guys that took our Sinister. Pick up Dawn. Dawn just gravitated to my hand this entire draft. It was kind of weird. He adds back Sinister. I'm going to take 2,000 here. And we're just going to set this Dawn. And we get him to summon this way. We pick up Singing. It's going to be good for just kind of poking in. He drops Shining Angel. Really wish I had some way to deal with it. He's got all these Battle Searchers. It's pretty good. We pick up the Mimic. That'll go with our Metamorphosis. We don't have a Sinister to search, but we do at least have Mimic we can search. Unfortunately, we MST into this Regeki break, so we're just getting absolutely wrecked with those. And he hits the solemn, which, you know, easily the best hit there. So I decide I want to try to get the solemn back before I go for any of the metamorphosis plays. But he has this nobleman again. So I wanted extra protection before I did this, but I'm just going to have to hope the 7 tools gets the job done. So it works out here. It is getting a little expensive. He gets his sinister. The board comes down, cleans up the restrict. We have this wing blast for that. But we're top decking, and I'm not feeling too good about where we are. And that is a big Fusilier, which we have to just put in defense. And we have just actual nothing. So, yeah, we had a lot of little tiny synergies in our deck, but nothing really, that significant that, it was able to really make an impact on the board. We didn't see a lot of chaos. I expected us to just get overrun by chaos, but it wasn't really like that at all. Our deck was just kind of underwhelming. We had pieces and no payouts, so it happens that way. Tried to keep the games as close as I could, but it just goes that way. So thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate the support while we get the channel going. So that's going to be it for this one, and we'll see you next time.